Shalom, Akim. I'm going to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rachah, Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who teach and rule well, and salutations to all the Akim, all four corners of earth who's pushing his truth and sincerity. Shalom, Akim. I want to get into Nero, what he did this week, with the invading of Venezuela. If you've seen the footage, you've seen those helicopters coming through those towns, just letting it rain from upstairs, And Trump has been on a rampage. He hit Nigeria. He's hitting Venezuela. He's kidnapping tankers off the coast. He's got 2 or 3 of them. 2, they say 2, but it could be more, And it just has me thinking because, these tankers were going to these either China or Russia. And when you think about it, I want to say during Biden's term, America tried to shoot over to Venezuela, but a warship from China or Russia was already over there. Like, hey, don't come over here, But right now, we got a new president, and, the Lord is putting the spirit upon him. And push, get those goods. Do what you can. You got but a short time, buddy. Do what you can. And his whole thing is, he's putting sugar over shit and lying about things, man. He's saying that these countries are bringing in all drugs to this country and all this. When you think about the drug game or the international drug market that there is, it is ruled by, you Edomites. America, one of the top spots. England, second spot. Australia, the third spot. And what do they all have in common? They love those drugs that come from South America. Trump wasn't. China already admitted that they were sending the fentanyl. They said that we sending it to your West Coast shipping areas, and they distribute it through the whole United States. They shoot it down to Mexico, and then they distribute it to the whole United States. You know what I'm saying? That's how the fentanyl game is going. But Trump is not gonna openly say anything about China. China is letting them know, man. We ready for you, man. But only time's gonna tell because you got them Taiwan affairs going on, and China is not playing, man. And the Lord is turning. This is the year, man. I feel that this is the year because the Lord has a lot of key players in this fire that aren't playing with America anymore. It says, let me read this real fast, because it says invading Venezuela refers to recent escalating U.S. military action and rhetoric, notably the capture of President Maduro. Following earlier drug-related charges and ongoing investigations justified by the Trump administration as law enforcement against a regime accused of repression and drug trafficking. So those are his main things: drug trafficking, repression of the people. When he over in Nigeria, when he started bombing over there, what was the ghost over there? Al Qaeda. They switched the name up so much. He got a new name for him all the time. But at the end of the day, this the world is looking at what Trump is doing, man. It said the same guys intervention drew strong condemnation from Russia and China and others at the UN Security Council. Wow, I just said the UN would never go against Trump, because they're here in New York. But sometimes when you vote, you don't have to put your name on there, so it might have been one of them type of ballots. But yeah, Trump's just turning everything, his whole cabinet upside down. People don't want to trust him. These nations are upset with him, man. This is Psalm 55. Let me start at 55 and 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. And Trump's had a lot of covenants with a lot of these places, man. Through deals. Mostly through deals. They call it the shotgun diplomacy. America was coming up, and these countries didn't want to do business with America. America would come through and start a riot, offset your economy somehow, some way by putting trading embargoes on you, selling your goods at a lower rate so you get back nothing. They have all sorts of ways to do things, man. America's wicked, man. So he says in Psalms 55 and 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softened in oil, yet were their drawn swords, man. You know what I'm saying? So what, the Lord will speak about oil, and this is what Trump is looking for. One of the things he's looking for. And like I said, it says his words are smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, man. So when Trump comes and invites you to the UN, to the NATO conferences, you best believe you have something in your country that he can use. He was just on TV the other day bragging and jumping up and down about how we went to Iraq and just left without no oil. And I'm like, wow. But, at the end of the day, they did leave oil because that was the main purpose of them going over there, man. And the key thing about another thing that I want to bring up, key point, I jumped on social media when Trump had kidnapped the president, and you should have seen the niggas, our president ain't playing, everything's a game to our people, man. Everything was a game. They don't understand the significance of how serious this is, man. For our country to go into another country and kidnap their president, those are acts of war. So what happens is, these countries are under the BRICS. Some of these countries are under something called the BRICS, and that's their bigger brother. So China and Russia, they're gonna have to do something about this, man. So what is that all gonna lead to? World War III. This is Isaiah 9:16. For the leaders of those people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed, man. You want to follow behind the moves that Trump is making and not understanding what's really going on, but got something to say? These people are stupid, man. But don't worry, because their sons, their daughters, their nephews, they're gonna be out there in that war, man. That Trump is creating, man. Yeah, it's a lot going on what Trump is doing, man. In these countries, that he's invading, they're not gonna keep just laying it down on their back, allowing him to come in and grab their minerals, bomb the country, Because when Trump first got in office the first term, he was sending rockets all where was that, over in Yemen, I want to say. He was sending rockets over there, man. And they said it didn't really hit no infrastructure, but still, it's just a sign of aggression, man. You just imagine China or Russia just shooting rockets into California or in Arizona or somewhere where nobody's at, really. It's still just the aggression part. This is Joel 3:9. He said, proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your plow hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, man. And that's what we're going to see happening very soon, man. These countries aren't going to continuously take America in their gunboat diplomacy, man. They're not going to continuously go for Nero's prideful runs, man. In the 50s and 60s, I did, when I was in college, I did a senior thesis on Che Guevara, and if you know what a thesis is, basically an argument, and I had to bring up points about what he was doing and was it beneficial. I forgot what my true argument was, but it was just bringing out points and stuff and showing what he was doing. And in my research, I come to find out that in the 50s and 60s, that you had different groups that were forming in these different countries. They were opposing this American gunboat diplomacy. So whatever leader that was for them and for America's best interest, they were going at it with him. And America was also funding these leftist movements to just offset the whole economy or offset the whole government, man. Just keep unrest in that country, and so they could come in and sweep the rug right up from them or buy the land for cheap. That's what they do. They buy the land for cheap. Once they go to war and get to killing each other, they go ahead. It's ripe for the taking, But yeah, these guys that Trump's counsel, his own counsel, once again, is going against him too as well. They're upset. The world is upset at Trump right now, man. So who's going to defend Trump's moves, man? Your sons and your daughters, Since everything's a game to 2/3 and to heathen that are here in America, prepare for your kids to defend America. This is it's Isaiah 5:20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. They put darkness for light and light for darkness. They put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight, man. You know what I'm saying? And that is, once again, you know, Trump is super wise in his eyes because he pushed this, you know, he what he wants to do. He always lets you know what he's gonna do, and then he goes out, tries to do it for the most part, because he's been doing all sorts of things with Maduro. Because remember, he sent the drones over there to Maduro too, and they lit the things up, man. Another thing, when Maduro got captured, they got different pictures with him in sweatsuits and just throwing up his fingers and hands. So we don't even know if this is real or not, man. You know what I'm saying? As far as if that's Maduro. Because, you know, we have AI is pumping heavy stuff out here right now, man. You know, as well as, you know, America has something called Hollywood, and they have some great prosthetic and camera, makeup people that could change your whole face. You won't even you'll be a whole new person, man. You know, or whatever star you want to be, they could turn you into. This is Hollywood we dealing with. Hollyweird we dealing with. But yeah, man, I just wanted to get on Trump and what he's doing, man. If you got to see this movie called Doom, you know, that was the Emperor. You know, he was on bullshit just what Trump is on. You know, with that being said, I was just edifying. Shalom, Akim.